Just want to give a quick shout out to Riley Jarvis and all of the work he does. So when I first found Riley, I was at an interesting stage sort of within my own personal development, I would say. I've always been a fairly healthy person. I played sports in high school, but it wasn't until I got a little bit older that I started to realize that there's some consequences sometimes to your actions, or more like a compounding effect or accumulation effect of just the habits and choices. I found that I could no longer really just, I think, do things or do whatever without feeling like there was going to be a day, 2 days, 3 days worth to spend time recovering, whether I was going out on the weekends partying or sort of taking caffeine or whatnot during the week. But when I found Riley, I was at a low because I just found that my internal energy was, my ability to have energy throughout the day was just completely gone, if not mostly depleted. I was feeling sick most days, completely burnt out, unenergized, and I decided to partner with Riley, and in the moment, I was in a moment of a lot of pain, and I decided to make the commitment to myself that, hey, I don't want to get into another situation like this. I'd rather invest in bettering myself as opposed to continuing to stay the same. And from there, I continued on to follow Riley's advice, and it worked, honestly, surprisingly well. My expectations was that I would just get back to baseline and feel good and maybe learn a thing or two that I hadn't learned before. But I was able to actually go beyond baseline into probably as close to the limitless state as once seen in the Bradley Cooper movies. I'm not even kidding you. I used to wake up right before my alarm went off. I would fall asleep right on time within 5 minutes. I have an Oura ring. I still have an Oura ring. And that would track my sleep score. And my sleep score was slowly trending upwards. And I found that there was just this incredible sense of compounding and momentum. And I got the amount of work done in 1 week as it used to take me maybe 2-3 months to be able to do. I remember that there were some days in which I would just lie in bed, writhing with energy, so empowered and impassioned for the next day, just waiting for it to come. And I would sleep and I would have a quality sleep and wake up and do it again and again and again. And that wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't without the stuff or the commitment that I'd made to working with Riley as far as straightening out my health, all my biomarkers and all that other stuff. After having gone through that protocol and stayed with that for about a year, I decided to invest with Riley again as far as getting some genetic and DNA tests done to learn a little bit more about my microbiome and how I could be more efficient. Every time that I've invested with Riley, I've seen a personal, physical, and mental and health advancement in a way in which I didn't know I would be able to achieve. I think one of the hardest things that I ran into when I was working with Riley is that I have a hard time really seeing the benefits maybe as clearly as I'd like. I'm so used to my own health and my own homeostasis that I just think sometimes that, is this really worth it? Do I really need it? I mean, I am still fairly young. I am still fairly healthy. Is this really going to make a big difference? But every time that I've committed, I've continue to go on to see results or make one little tiny change that makes all the difference. The most recent one is I took a test and Riley was able to read the results back to me, and I learned that my microbiome isn't perfect, but more importantly, my body, despite not being besides not being lactose intolerant, I'm not lactose intolerant, my body doesn't fare that well with dairy. And so I decided to cut dairy out of my diet, and I've just found that I have more energy, more focus, more clarity throughout the day. I don't have the highs and lows, the need to take naps and rely on stimulants as much as I used to. I can wake up in the morning and take a coffee or not take a coffee. It's really my choice, but I can still get through the day. So with that, for anyone who's watching this, who's considering taking the leap and working with Riley, definitely do it. Now, it might be one that you don't feel, it might not feel as emotionally charged or significant as you'd like it to be. I think every time I worked with Riley coming into it, I was like, this is something that I'm doing. I know that I should. I don't necessarily see the huge benefits right off the gate, but every time I was impressed with the results and gains I was able to get. So I highly recommend it. If you want to really go to the next step in sort of your development, really put your health in there. If you haven't invested in your health before, definitely invest in your health at least once. See what's on the other side of taking the right advice from someone who knows what they're doing and level things up. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So go ahead, work with Riley.